Hi guys, welcome to Hoops Junction. Today we witnessed a hard-fought battle between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Detroit Pistons. This game was a great game from start to finish. It was a neck-and-neck matchup. The Cleveland Cavaliers took like a 5-point lead at one point. Then the Detroit Pistons came back with a run of their own. Then the Detroit Pistons came back with a run. Then the Cavaliers came back with a run of their own. And even in the fourth quarter, the Detroit Pistons had a 7-point lead. I think that the game was very well played by both sides. I feel that the Cavaliers they got away with a little lackluster shooting. They shot 34% from the three and 44% overall from the field. I believe they got a few breaks down the stretch. Stan Van Gundy mentioned that LeBron gets to do what he wants, and the referees seem to have like a little bit of LeBron bias. We all know this. This is nothing that's new. But being the fact that it was a close game and they almost won, they nearly won, and they had a lead in the fourth, that kind of eats at you. You're just like, hey, maybe if an offensive foul gets called here, offensive foul gets called there, we could have won the game. But that you can't depend on that. And I felt like the Detroit Pistons were very resilient. This is their first time in playoffs in 7 years, and they had 4 starters who've never played in the playoffs, and they actually were neck and neck with the Cavaliers. It was great to watch. And think about this: Detroit Pistons, they shot 50% from the field, 51% from three, and they lost the game. It's crazy. It's crazy the effect of LeBron James and the Big Three, and a little bit of home cooking, what it could do to a team, for a team. But I'll say this. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, I know they expected to dominate this matchup because they have Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron James. And the three of them played awesome. Kevin Love 28 and 13, Kyrie 31 and 6, LeBron 22 and 11. And they narrowly won this game. And that being said, that's a wake-up call to all the Cavaliers bench players. They have to play better. Shumpert had 2 points. Richard Jefferson had 5. Miles Goff had a donut. J.R. Smith is not a bench piece, is a starter, so he had 9 points. Everybody, Dellavedova had 7, which was good for him, but nobody stepped up how the Cavs needed it, because every night Kevin Love is not going to score 28 points, and every night LeBron James is not going to score 20 to 30 points, and every night Kyrie Irving is not going to score 31. If you look at the Detroit Pistons lineup, they're bigger at all positions other than the small forward position, where LeBron has the ultimate advantage. And if Kyrie Irving didn't have such a great game and Kevin Love didn't have such a great game, if one of them would have faltered by 2 or 3 points, we'd have been talking about the Detroit Pistons actually stealing home court advantage. I feel that the next game coming up, the Cavaliers definitely have to stomp the Detroit Pistons. They have to blow them out by 20. They can't have them thinking that they're on their level. And all of that comes from their boring sets. All they run is pick and roll, try to get the switch, pick and roll, try to get the switch. Sometimes they try to post up. Everything they do is very predictable. It's very slow. If LeBron James is not on the court, their offense doesn't run how it's supposed to, because he makes all those nice passes, those bullet passes, and things of that nature. But other than that, their offense is very stagnant. It's not great. And when you're playing a team like the Detroit Pistons, you want to take away their confidence. Today, I believe I guess it's a moral victory, but it's a big confidence booster for them, because they're the 8th seed. Everybody's telling them that they can't play with the Cavs. And they had a 7-point lead in the fourth. And if it wasn't for a few bonehead decisions by Reggie Jackson, driving the ball, playing one-on-one, technical foul, and some questionable calls with LeBron driving to the basket, getting that shooting foul when it looked like a charge to me. Those are confidence boosters, and you don't want to give a young team that is young and dumb confidence, because they don't know to be scared. And if you're feeding into them, they're like, okay, well, Stan Van Gundy could go in there and say, hey, LeBron's played well, Kyrie played well, Love played well, and we still were in the game. We still could have won the game. So imagine if one of those guys don't play well. That's what Stan Van Gundy's telling his players right now. He's like, All we have to do is just get one of them not to play well, and nobody else is going to step up on the Cavs. So for the Cavs, they need to come out the next game Wednesday. They need to put their foot on their neck. They need to beat them by 20, because you can't split it. If they go to Detroit with a 1-1 split, anything can happen. And if they go to Detroit up 2-0 but didn't really beat them down, then you didn't do your job. So the first round, you have to dominate, especially if you're supposed to be the contenders for the NBA Finals. You have to dominate teams. If you're not dominating teams, especially in the first round, you're just kind of tinkering with them, and you're still tinkering. It's not really a good sign, because the next competition is going to get harder. Then the next competition is going to get harder. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're headed for Miami Heat, Cleveland Cavaliers, Eastern Conference Finals. Don't quote me on it yet, but I think that's where we're headed. And I think that matchup is something to see. But I really enjoyed the game. I think it was an awesome game. And if game 2 is like anything like game 1, count me in, because I saw some great things, and despite a few questionable things here and there, that most people won't really notice it, because they're so caught up in this guy had so many points, this guy did this, but a few little things, minor things here and there for both sides. I'll say both sides, because they called a lot of BS calls on the Cavaliers as well down the stretch. So both sides. So if game 2 is like anything like game 1, and the hot shooting continues, it's going to be a doozy. We're going to be looking at a longer series than we expected. This is Vlad from Hoops Junction, where hoops meets hoopla. Peace.